Previously on Gundam Char's Counterattack. Young teen Noah Hathaway, son of legendary captain and makers of men by way of the Pimpan, Noah Bright, fell in love with Gundam's most psychotic woman ever. And in a franchise which has this...
Hero! I am right over here, so come and kill me!
That is an accomplishment. Now, not surprisingly, that ended badly. She left him to pursue a man twice her age in ways that redefined the psycho-stalker stereotype. And, further not surprisingly, that ended badly too. This is the Universal Century Gundam after all. Its creator is known as Kill 'Em All Tomino for a very good reason. Oh yeah, Hathaway got a bright slap. I could literally watch that all day. So, does the bright slap fulfill its legacy of turning whiny teen wimps into alpha male heroes? That is what we are here to discuss today as we review Gundam Hathaway Flash. So Gundam Hathaway Flash picks up 12 years after Char's counterattack, and in an aside, I think this is the furthest in the Universal Century timeline the Gundam series has traveled as of yet. Gundam Unicorn, which is from 2010 and got a series expansion in 2016, took place 3 years after Char's counterattack. So this is 9 years after Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn. And for those Gundam fans who really wanted to see how the Earth and Federation has progressed in this era, over a decade removed from Char's counterattack and 9 years after the discovery of Laplace's box, sadly you're out of luck. That's really not a topic in this film. It's much more character focus. It focuses on Hathaway and the man that he's become in the following years. So I want to give a very minor spoiler warning for the duration of this review. I'm just going to really be mentioning a few very light spoilers about Hathaway and his outlook. I really don't think I could review the film appropriately without doing so, and if you're bothered by even light spoilers, go watch the film and please come back. Thank you. So, Hathaway, yeah. So in the years after Char's counterattack, the bright slap fulfilled its role. Yeah, he has alphaed up. He is a capable soldier, leader, and pilot. But unfortunately, he has no faith in humanity and where it's going. He is of the belief that humanity needs to be herded to a better life, specifically leaving Earth for space, feeling as though humanity is not good for the Earth and it would be better off without humanity. This is extremely ironic since Hathaway never really met, spoke, or interacted with Char in any way, but is very much taken on his outlook, just without the manipulative or coldness of Char. So this idea carries on the theme of the Universal Century Gundam series. Part of the point of Char's counterattack was to show how the war had affected children who grew up in this time, in much the same way Mobile Suit Gundam showed how young teens, specifically Amuro, who were drafted into the war, dealt with the pressures and realities of war. Hathaway Flash does a very good job in showing how the war has affected Hathaway, but one of the things really lacking in this film is a rivalry to develop Hathaway. Unfortunately, Hathaway really has no antagonist, or would that be protagonist, considering Hathaway is something of an anti-hero here. But Hathaway has no rival to bounce off, to really develop him. And the film is very much affected in the worst ways because of it. It's made much more... It's just not as interesting as it really should be, I should say. Now I want to make an example of how important the concept of the rivalry plot device is to Gundam. So let's take the Char-Amuro rivalry. That was so vital it played a factor in series where neither Char nor Amuro appeared, like in 0083 Stardust Memory. The antagonist of that film, Anvil Gato, had more kills than Char, during the 1 Year War. But it's also implied that the only reason he succeeded in that was that Char was too distracted by his rivalry with Amuro to focus on the greater war around him, and thus Gato was still regarded in Zeon as a lesser pilot despite his accomplishments.
So I state that example to show how internal the rivalry plot device is to Gundam, and how without it, Hathaway just isn't that interesting a character as he would be if he had a rival of similar skill but differing philosophy to challenge him. Furthermore, the storytelling in this series happens in a style that I call muddy storytelling, meaning that many events and conversations are very unclear as to the point of them, leaving up to the viewer's interpretation to determine what just happened. So many a time a conversation or a big event or a mecha battle will occur, and I really got the feeling the movie wanted me to think this was a big deal of what just happened. This was really important, what just got said. But it was never clear why. The meaning was always very muddy and left to the viewer's interpretation. And while I do appreciate stories that try to get the viewer to think, the story still has to make itself clear and understood. For example, a mecha battle occurs, you never know why it's happening. There's a very prominent character in the film, I won't say important, I will say prominent, because she never does or accomplishes or says anything of any meaning whatsoever, despite taking up a lot of screen time. Now I want to take a moment to discuss the animation values of Gundam Hathaway. So the animation seems to use an updated animation style seen in Gundam Unicorn. And Gundam Unicorn is a very gorgeous animated series to view. Unfortunately, Gundam Hathaway is only gorgeous half the time. Any events showing mobile suits and Gundams in this film happen all at night, and they use a muted and dull color palette, which makes the details of the mobile suits difficult to see and battle scenes hard to keep up with at times. This is unfortunate, because I have seen the designs of the Gundams in this film, the Penelope and the RX-105. I've seen these Gundams in full HD and import games like SD Genesis and Super Robot Wars. I'm a fan of these designs. I think they're wonderful looking. I think they're very creative and very unique. However, in Gundam Hathaway, it's just not possible to pick out any of that detail in the scenes that they're in due to the color palette. There's never a money shot where the Gundams get a chance to flex and show off the designs, weaponry. I again have to compare this to Gundam Unicorn, which had nighttime and space battles, but still used a color scheme and animation styles that kept things clear. Now I gotta compare this to the daytime scenes in Gundam Hathaway, where the color palette is bright, fluid, and vibrant. And the creative decision about the mobile suit scenes in Gundam Hathaway is baffling to me, as it just needlessly takes the film down yet another peg. I can't help but feel that Gundam Hathaway would have worked far better as an animated series. With an episodic format to work off, there would have been time and even impetus to focus on lore and world building post Char's counterattack and the Laplace's box incident from Gundam Unicorn. There also would have been an impetus to develop Hathaway far better and to clarify why he is the man he's become. The only hints as to Hathaway even becoming this kind of individual are in split-second scenes in Char's counterattack. And honestly, I feel like the film really needed to develop and explain Hathaway's outlook far better. I can't see this film providing any entertainment to a Gundam newbie. The film relies far too much on knowing what happened with Hathaway and Char's counterattack, and the themes that have come before, the themes of how war affects the young, for anyone without that foreknowledge to appreciate this plot and the development of Hathaway. Honestly, as a bit of an aside, I knew the novels of Hathaway called Hathaway's Flash existed, but I've never really bothered to look them up because I've never cared about Hathaway's future. I I hated him almost as much as I hated Quest and Char's counterattack. And so the only thing this film has really done for me is make me curious about Hathaway and want to understand his character more. So chalk that up as a pro for this film. But honestly, I have to give the film a 4 out of 10. There's a lot of potential for things to pick up in the second and third entries, and there will be second and third films. The Hathaway Flash series is a trilogy of books, and so this is going to be a trilogy of movies. But however, this first one just feels like there's a lot of story, ideas, and development that needs to occur to build off it. There's too many mystery boxes in Gundam Hathaway. I'd have to compare Hathaway and the film to Rey and The Force Awakens, in the sense that in The Force Awakens, at the time, I actually found Rey kind of interesting and wanted to get to know, okay, how did she become this character? How did she become this powerful? I wanted explanations. Again, it was the mystery box concept that unfortunately has also dragged down that film and is dragging down this film as well. Too many questions, not enough answers. Now we all know how the sequel trilogy ended up. I really hope that the second and third entries in Gundam Hathaway do a far better job, because there is potential. I'm curious about where this is going. I just want it done far better.